Today's workshop is going to still focus on HTML. We all received the messages. So the messages you received is exactly what we are going to look at. That is HTML basics. So before you can do anything or start coding or writing down the HTML tags, you have to specify that text editor that you wish to work with. So to specify or to run the text editor, I will go to the Start button, then I access this Notepad. If you can't find it on the Start menu, then you just go in this search for and you type there Notepad. It will be able to get displayed on your Start menu as we can see from the screen. So from there you click to display it. Here we now have our Notepad displayed. Let me try to change the font size so that it is not so big. Let me put on a manageable size. Yes. So here we have our Notepad and the text editor we are going to work with. We should not forget to create a folder where we are going to put that file or the HTML document we are creating. That one I will do it as we are going to save our HTML document. Now that we have the Notepad opened, let's start by putting these codes in the Notepad. As we can all remember from the previous workshop, that every HTML document you're creating has to be declared. So we have to open that tag for declaring that this is the HTML document we are working on. So we declare as doc type HTML. Then we close that tab. So here we are informing or we are declaring that the document type we are working on, doc type, is HTML. It has to come as the first tag in your text editor. From there, we tell the browser now that we are starting to work on the HTML document. So we open the HTML tag. After opening the HTML tag, we have also to describe or give a description of the document we are working on. So we shall do that with the help of the head tag. So within this head tag, we are supposed to be with the title. So to describe the HTML document we are working on, we shall now go ahead and do that description with the help of this tag known as the title tag. So what are we going to put now? We shall put that text or that information that will describe our HTML document. So we can call it Friday HTML trials. Then we have to close this tag, title tag, because we have opened it. So we close it. with that tag. Since this title tag helps us to describe what will appear on the browser tab in the head section, and it is found in this head section, so we have to close also the head section. We inform now the browser that that is the only information we want for describing our HTML document. So we use this head tag to close. Every HTML document has to be with a body. So it is from this body that we put those contents we want displayed as web pages from the browser. So to insert such kind of contents, we have to first of all introduce this body tag. So when you introduce the body tag, then that means that everything we want will now come within this body tag. So let's give an example of a heading style. So we want to give a heading for our HTML or in the body section. So that heading appears within the browser. So we can say H1. So this is heading style 1, which always appear as the biggest style. So we can say welcome to our Friday HTML workshop. Then we have to close that heading, so we use this tag H1. We close it. Then we go to the next. Now let's first stop at that, and then we now close the body. Let's assume that is the only information we want displayed on our browser. So we close the body because it is opened. Then we also close the HTML tag we opened. HTML. So when you close the body, you are informing this program that now this is the end of all the contents I want to appear within the body section. Then when you close this HTML using the HTML tag, this one, the closing tag, you now inform the browser that yes, we started our HTML document, but now this is the end of our HTML document. So that's why we bring in this tag last. Then we have to save, go to file. From file, we shall go to save as. So when we click on save as, we have got this dialog box. So we have to specify where we want our document to be saved. Let's put it in document folder. So I will click on document folder. So within the document folder, I want to create a folder where we shall put our HTML file. So I will click on new folder and then we call it Friday HTML. Then below here we have to go and put in the file name for the HTML document. But before, we have to double click this to open it so that the file we are going to create from here goes within this Friday folder. So we can say trial. trial file. Then we should not click save. There is something we need to do. If we just click on save, we shall have a text document. And yet what we want is an HTML document. That's why we declared here that the document type is HTML. So to ensure that this document we are creating is an HTML document, we have to add the other extension we saw in our previous workshop. That is the .html. Then there we can now click on save. So when we click on save, I'm going to close this file. Now, where did we save our HTML document? We put it in the document folder. So we click on start, then we go to the document folder and we look for the folder name. It is Friday HTML. Double click to open it. Within this folder, we can see we have trial file, and it has got that Google Chrome logo, signifying that this is an HTML file. Even when you point, you can see type Chrome HTML document. Now we are going to open this document with the help of a browser. So we double click. So when we double click, we have the browser open. Let's start from top. We said that we wanted to describe our HTML document as Friday HTML trial. So we put this information within the head tag, and here it is on the browser tab. So this is to describe the kind of HTML document someone is working on. Then just below here, this is the file path that one can use to access this file or this HTML document. That this document is stored in the C partition of our hard disk in the users folder, car document, and the folder is Friday HTML. Then the file name is trial file. Then when we went into the body area, we remember putting in a heading style 1, and here we have that style, welcome to our Friday HTML workshop. So that is how you can work with this, and we looked at this in our previous workshop. Now we want now to see how we can open our HTML document with a text editor but not a browser. So I'm going to just try to minimize this. Now here we have this file, but when you double click on the file, it will open with a browser, as we can see from here. But now we want to open with a text editor, a Notepad. So here what we do is to select it. After we right click. When we right click, we have the first option here, open. This open, if we work with it, it will open this file trial with a Google Chrome or with a web browser that you're working with. But we want to work with a text editor. Then below here we have edit with Microsoft Expression Web 4. In our previous workshop, we looked at special programs that you can work with to help you create HTML documents. So Microsoft Expression Web is one of such programs. Since we are not so much skilled or we are not familiar with the interface with this special program, we shall not open this file with this program. Then we also looked at Notepad++ as one of the simple ones with simple interface. So this one, I also have it installed on the machine. That's why we see it here. But our interest is to open our file with the Notepad. So we shall move up to where we see Open With. So Open With, you can decide to open that HTML document you have created with any browser that is installed on your machine. So I have the Firefox, so I can use Firefox to open that file. I have Google Chrome, I can use it to open it. I have Internet Explorer, I can work with it as well. These are the three web browsers I have. Then we have already looked at the specialized program as Microsoft Expression Web 4. So our interest is Notepad. So we shall click on Notepad. So here we have our Notepad opened, and that's how you can open your HTML document once again with a Notepad or with a text editor when you had closed that particular text editor. So let me close this folder, and then we remain with our Notepad and our browser here. So now what we want to do is to add some more content within the body section. So that we shall put within the body. So I will just go and press the Enter key just below our heading style 1. Then we introduce a paragraph. I hope we still remember paragraph tag. So we put the tag for paragraph, and then we put there the information we want. For instance, we can now say, welcome to our Friday HTML workshop. Then we say, thank you for always attending these online workshops. Let's continue. Let's continue with the spirit. Let's continue with the spirit. So let me close that tag. So this is the paragraph that we have below this heading. Now here we have the paragraph created. Let's see, can these changes now be reflected on our browser? I hear yes from you, so let's check. Now we don't see it. The other time we said if we are not seeing any change, yet we have added the change on the browse on the text editor, we just work with this reload. I'm clicking on the reload button, nothing is happening. What do you think the reason? What is causing this? As you're thinking, also thinking that maybe we forgot to save the changes we applied to our notepad. So whenever you forget to save those changes, however much you go on the browser here and reload the page, it will never be reflected there. So what we have to do is to first of all save the changes. After saving the changes, go to your browser and then reload. When you reload the page, then you will have those changes reflected there. That is why you are not able to see the changes. Save the changes you have applied to your HTML text editor. So we are going to add more content within the body section. Let's go to the body section area. Today I would like us to look at the different heading styles, because we have from heading 1 up to heading 6. So let's introduce now the second heading style. We see the size. So we have H2 as the tag for heading 2. Then we say our Friday workshop. Our Friday workshop. Then we close that tag with that tag. Then save changes. If you reload, you will see that the changes are now being reflected on your browser. If you look at this heading, you will realize that it is quite smaller when compared to the first one. So that is how you can work with those heading styles. Then we have got some other things we can do. We can decide now to create a paragraph, and within that paragraph we want the text to be italicized. We want the text to be italicized. So what do we do then? We create the paragraph first. So we open the paragraph tag. So when you open this paragraph tag, let's first type that information we want. We can say today is Friday. Today is Friday workshop is the best. Then close this paragraph. So when we close, save. Now when we reload, it will be reflected. Do we see what is there? It is reflected, but it is bold, yet we did not make it bold. I want us to go back and see what is the cause of this paragraph being bold. And if you look at Friday and this, you will see that they are of the same size. Try to check out from your screen as I check out. Which mistake did we make? What we should put at the back of our minds is that as we are creating these codes, we shall not be exact. We shall not make mistakes. Mistakes will always be there. Now when we look at H2, heading style 2, instead of closing H2, we closed a paragraph. which we never created. So what happens here is that you have got this h2 here. So every content that you will continue creating below here will be formatted in this style of headings 2. That's why this one looks to be bold, but it is the size h2. It is the effect of this tag h2, because here we never closed h2 but closed a paragraph which we even never created. So these are some of the mistakes we should not worry about. When you get into such a challenge, go back into your tags, see where the mistake is. So let's close rightly now. So we want to close h2, we close h2, then save the changes. We go to our browser, we reload. Is it still the same? No. Reason, we have now closed the what? The real tag we opened. Then here I use the capital P. It is not a problem. We can put to a small one to close our paragraph. When we save changes, there is nothing that will still change. So the main issue was to remind ourselves that as we are creating these tags, we shall make mistakes. But once a mistake is made in the tag, what do? We go back and check on those tags. Now we want this particular statement here, or this text, to be italics, like we had said. So when you create a paragraph, then we have to introduce that particular tag for italicizing the text. So the tag will be this. So you open the angle bracket, then you put EM. So for italicizing the text, we use this tag of EM. EM stands for unemphasized text. So if you want to emphasize text, you can work with this EM, but it is normally going to change the text in italics. So we work with the EM tag. Since we have opened the EM tag within the paragraph tag, that means we shall also come here before the paragraph tag, then we close this tag for italicizing our text. Close the tag. So we expect this this content to be in italics. So we go, save the changes, we go to the browser, we can see that right now it is not italicized. Let's reload our page and see. When we reload the page, we can see that the text is now in italics. The tag we use is EM tag, emphasize the text. Hope we are together. Then you may also want to introduce in some other tags, and you work with those tags. For instance, if you want to make the tag or to create a tag that will make some content bold. So here what do we do? If you want to create a different text or a different paragraph, you can do that by going to the opening of that particular paragraph tag. Then you say, let us make it our duty to keep on learning so that we deliver well. Then from there, close that paragraph tag. We want to make a certain information within this line of text to be bold. Let us make it our duty to keep on learning. So we want from here our duty to keep on learning to be in bold. The rest should not be in bold. So what do we do? You can now introduce that particular tag within that text you have created, just like this one. So we just put here our insertion pointer, then we introduce that tag for bolding. In HTML 5, we shall work with this tag strong. This tag is to make the text within it to be what? Bold. So you introduce strong. So we want our duty to keep on learning to be in bold. Then we put our cursor where we see that insertion pointer blinking from. Then we close this tag strong, which we have opened. So we close it. Let me hope it will work. So what we expect here is that this information I've highlighted should be reflected on our browser when it is bold. Then these others let us make it so that we deliver well to remain unbolded. So let's see whether it will work out. We save the changes we have made to our text editor. Let's go to our browser and we reload. When you look at our browser, we can see that we have this line of text we created here. But if we see critically, our duty to keep on learning is bolded. So that is how you can introduce a particular tag within the text, and you make that tag that text to be formatted in that way you want, depending on that tag, on which tag you have put there. You can even decide and say keep, only the word keep should be italicized. You can still go ahead and do that within. For instance, here you have this text best. Yes, you opened this italics tag, but you can also open a bold tag within. No problem there. I just encourage you, as usual, to keep on what? Trying and also practicing. Let's also look at another tag. There are some tags that we can use to help us divide a line of text or paragraph into two. And that tag is known as the break. So the break tag helps you to break. For instance, you see this line of text, this paragraph: thank you for always attending these online workshops. Let's continue with the spirit. You may want this line here, let's continue with the spirit, to appear on the next line just below this text. How do you do that? You don't need to put here the cursor and then you press enter. Then you press enter. And then I save the changes. We see what will happen. Here we have that paragraph. Let's reload. When you reload, you will see that nothing is changing. So this means that this is not the best way. It is not the best way to go ahead and push a certain text to appear below the other. So the best way, if we can take it back, the best way is to introduce that tag we call the break tag. So the break tag is represented with this tag here, and the break tag does not have the closing tag. It is considered a tag which is empty. So since it is empty, you don't need to close anything there. You just introduce it to that point you want, then it will do what you want. We save. After saving, we shall go now to our browser. We reload. We expect this line to appear just below here. So we reload and see whether we are right. So you can see here it is. It is finally below as we wanted it. So that is how you can work with that break tag. Then let us work with another interesting tag. That tag is known as the mark tag. You may be having some text you want to highlight with a given color. So you can mark that kind of text so that maybe it is a way of emphasizing that given text. For instance, on our heading, welcome to our HTML workshop, to our Friday HTML workshop. Maybe you want to highlight and show someone that it is HTML workshop. This welcome may not be so important. What you consider to be important is HTML workshop. So you can highlight that particular text by using the mark tag. I will introduce it there. Then open that angle bracket and introduce that tag, mark. From there, we have to close it since we have opened it. If we don't close, what will happen? Let's check out. First, save, then reload. It is working. So, however much it is working, still you can go ahead and close that tab. Let's close and see. Mark, closed. Then save the changes and then reload. It is the same thing. You can also do the marking maybe online. You want it to come out to show people that yes, we are working, we are having these HTML workshops, but they are online workshops. You can still go ahead and mark. Then close the tag. And then we are going to save the changes and reload. You can see here we have it also marked. What happens if we wrote a wrong spelling? Instead of putting mark the way it is, and we just write it like that, mark. Let's save the changes and we reload. We see what will happen. It will not work. Reason: this is not the tag, not the correct spelling for the tag. So that also reminds us that as we are writing these tags, we have to think about the correct spellings or the correct tags. Let's be exact with our tags as we insert them in our HTML documents we are creating. I'm saving and then I reload. You may be wondering why it is only highlighting in yellow. Yes, as we advance, we are going to see how we can highlight the text with some other colors. So with this HTML, it will just give us that particular color. But as we continue with our workshops, we shall be in a position to see how we can highlight that text of our interest with that color of our interest. So we have got a lot of things that we can do when we are working with HTML, and we still have many other tags that we are going to learn step by step. So if you have this kind of tags like this, then you can just keep on working and working with your text editor. We have looked at H1, H2. Let's introduce H3. So we are going to work on H3, and we see the size of H3. Then we can say this is so nice. Then we close that tag H3. I'm going to introduce H4 as well. That is heading 4. So we say H4 and say I have learned something today. Hope it is true that you have learned something today. Let's first save the changes, and we see from our browser. You can see that they are quite different in terms of size. Maybe this one is in small letters. You may say no, let's change this. We also say this is so nice. We make it small letters. This is so nice, so that we see the differences. You can see that there is a difference between this and that. This one is quite smaller and this is quite bigger when we compare these two. So when we are working with these different headings, it will depend on what you want to do. If maybe you want to apply a certain heading in your HTML document, you will decide, do you want a smaller heading, or you want a bigger heading, or you want a slightly smaller heading. So it is upon you and me to make the right choice. I will not exceed this point. What I will encourage you to do is just to keep on trying and learning always. Otherwise, we have still a lot to do. Thank you for turning up for this workshop. We can kindly unmute our microphones. You add in your feedbacks.